story of Moses because he was experiencing a challenge that's not unlike a lot of us. He just totally felt like I'm not going to be able to speak eloquently. That's how it was worded in the scriptures. He doesn't feel like he's going to be able to articulately express what God is asking him to do. So it's a very good story to read, especially for anyone who is wanting to do public speaking. You don't feel qualified. Moses, that's a great story to look into.
Hello, blessed people. Thank you and welcome to Therapeutic Tuesdays podcast with me, your host, Amber Star. And yeah, I am super excited that you are here. We are on a mission to get you on fire for Jesus Christ. Oh, there is a problem in this world where people are not living life abundantly, and the solution is Jesus Christ. And here on Therapeutic Tuesdays podcast, we want to spread the word by providing a word of encouragement with another kingdom woman. And yeah, this kingdom woman is special to my heart because she's my sister in Christ. Roquita Johnson is a virtuous woman of God. She, to me, I was telling her, she's a motivational speaker because she motivates you to want to be an awesome public speaker. And she is an entrepreneur for Roquita Johnson Public Speaking. Awesome, exceptional public speaking coach. Roquita, would you introduce yourself to the blessed audience of Therapeutic Tuesdays podcast?
Hi, thank you, Amber. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Roquita Johnson. I am a certified world-class speaking coach. I am an author. I am a certified virtual presenter. And yes, I speak. The people that I primarily coach are Christian men and women who are thought leaders. They are experts. They are career professionals. They are looking to be confident, clear, engaging speakers, and I work with them on getting their message out and letting their light shine, letting them shine in the lane that God has them, whatever that message is, being a confident speaker and being able to touch the masses, the people that God has assigned to them.
And Roquita, welcome, and I love what you're doing, sis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, blessed audience, go ahead and grab your journal and tea, and let's get ready for a therapeutic conversation. Oh, and the name of this podcast episode is simply Sis, Your Voice Counts. Roquita really emphasizes it, and we're all going to talk about voice because we all have a voice. And let's start off with scripture in Psalms 116, and this is the first verse. It says, I love the Lord because he hears my voice and my prayer for mercy. So your voice is unique to you. So whatever voice you have, let me tell you, it's beautiful and God has it. And I was telling Ro, I call her Ro, I was telling her I really love one of her message about biblical characters and how they thought they were underqualified to speak, but God heard their voice and said, you are qualified to speak. So since your voice counts, and Ro, oh my goodness, Ro takes us down this journey of these 4 beautiful biblical characters. Oh my goodness, Ro, let's start off with Moses, because you explained it so well, Ro, and you took out their voices and you really transformed it. Tell us all about Moses and his voice, Ro.
Yes, that always cracks me up how that message resonated with you, but I'm so glad. I got a lot of feedback on that post when I put it out there. A lot of people are like, yes, like this is absolutely right. Here's why I did that. When we think about public speaking and getting our message out there, a lot of people are still nervous when it comes to speaking in front of audiences. It doesn't matter how big that audience is. Sometimes we think that a lot of things that we are facing now in this current modern age, we think that these are new issues when no, it's like Ecclesiastes says, there's nothing new under the sun. So a lot of things that we are facing now, and I'm talking about in the realm of public speaking, specifically right here, a lot of those people were facing these same issues back in biblical days. And when we talk about Moses, the Bible tells us he had some sort of speech impediment. We don't know exactly what that was, but we do know that Moses felt like, I am not qualified to go to Pharaoh. I'm not qualified to go on this mission to deliver this message that you want me to deliver, God. I mean, Moses went so far. He was like a lot of us. He was trying to give God every reason. Do not send me. I do not want to deliver this message. Can you use somebody else? Can you use somebody else? Like, I really don't feel qualified to do this. God is still so gracious with Moses. He doesn't get angry. Oh, maybe God is frustrated, but he doesn't come across as angry. What does God do? The Lord says, okay, I'm going to have Aaron. I'll send your brother to help to speak, on behalf to help you. And he does just that. So Moses did not feel like he was even ready. He was not the person that God needed to send, especially to someone in such a high or authoritative position. That's another reason that sometimes people do get nervous, what I would call, it's called situational nervousness. There are certain situations where you feel nervous with public speaking. It's not a nervousness that's across the board. But for some people, for example, when they do have to go speak to someone who's in a higher position, higher authority, maybe it's a vice president of the company, for example, you might feel intimidated. Whatever nervousness you feel gets magnified when you have to speak to this type of person. When you know that it's a high stakes situation too, maybe a very important presentation, that nervousness is amplified. So Moses, it's such a touching story. Like, God is so gracious with him. He's like, no, you can do this. Moses is still just like, I can't speak well. Can you just get somebody else? Okay, I'm gonna have Aaron come help you. And Moses does it. Like, he does what God needs him to do to help free his people. So that's one reason I love the story of Moses, because he was experiencing a challenge that's not unlike a lot of us. He just totally felt like, I'm not going to be able to speak eloquently. That's how it was worded in the scriptures. He doesn't feel like he's going to be able to articulately express what God is asking him to do. So it's a very good story to read, especially for anyone who is wanting to do public speaking. You don't feel qualified. Moses, that's a great story to look into.
It sure is, Ro. I love how you broke that down. And guess what? Like, when he was speaking, no one said, Moses, you couldn't talk. We don't understand. It just all went how God wanted to be. And audience, we offer positive affirmations. So I'm going to say it again. Sis, your voice counts. Moses went from thinking he was underqualified to being qualified within God's help. Oh, I love that story. Yeah, go ahead and check it out. And he led the Israelites into their promised land, over the Red Sea. He led them out of slavery, all under his voice. And he allowed God to use his voice, just the way he was, to come in and free it. So your voice can free someone today. And another, oh my goodness, biblical character role that you mentioned is Esther. Tell us all about this beautiful queen.
Esther's story, I included her in that social media post, because Esther was someone who she had to speak to the king, but she felt like, it's like, am I supposed to deliver this message? Like, who am I in a way to deliver this message? how could she go before the king? Like the message that she had, she was put in a position where, well, the king could kill me. Like, why do I have to go and deliver this message? And her relative, I believe Mordecai was her cousin or uncle, but Mordecai is like, you know, maybe you are here for such a time as this. You are the person that is meant to save these people. And even if you don't, let's just say you don't do it, Esther. God, you know, God is going to have somebody else do it, but that means that it's still going to be on your head. You know, there's still going to be consequences that you are going to have to face. So Esther really had a lot to think about there. So it's like, God, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to listen to me, God? And this is the king that she had to go before, deliver this message. And then, like I said, she could have been, the king could have easily have killed her. He could have, her story is just amazing, but she was nervous too about delivering this message. Like, well, do I have to do this? Who am I? Okay, God, you may not deliver this message, but guess what? It's not going to stop God's plan for this message to be delivered. I think that is a big lesson that anyone who wants to do any kind of speaking, you can learn a lot from that. If you have a message on your heart that you know that God really wants you to deliver, you need to do that. And we feel that, we can feel when it's something that God is really wanting us to do. God is asking you to do it. Yes, there are a lot of people who may speak on the same topic, but guess what? God has given you the specific experiences, the specific stories. The way you tell it is going to resonate with certain people. Who knows? If someone else had gone before the king and delivered it, maybe he would have killed them. But we know in the end that Esther, her life was spared. She, in fact, became the queen. That just says a lot. Like, God, you might decide, I'm not going to deliver this message. I'm not going to do what God wants me to do. You're going to let every excuse in the book hold you back, whether it's fear, whether you think I'm going to look dumb in front of these people, I'm not going to be respected. God's message is still going to get out there.
Yes,
whatever he has you to do, whatever he wants to get out to people is going to get out. He will just use somebody else who's just as qualified, but he asked you to do it. He asked you to do it. So I think we really just need to trust in God's plan. I know public speaking can be scary. Sometimes the messages that we have, maybe it's something that's controversial. Some people have that, I'm gonna call it a ministry. Their message, that ministry is controversial. It's what God has called you to do. He knows you are built for it. Yes. You're the one that people are gonna listen to. They're gonna go, hold on, wait a minute. Their ears are gonna open up a little bit more. Maybe they were hesitant, they were stubborn about this message before when they heard it from someone else. But the fact that they heard it from you, it hits a little bit differently. Now I'm listening. Something about the way that you told this, I'm listening. So we need to do what God has told us to do. We need to do it. You know, I love how Esther, she had the people fast. I think it was for 3 days. They fasted. Like, she really wanted to be prepared and to make sure that she did this. She did what God was asking her to do. But, you know, there was some fear there. She made sure that she got the people involved, you know, fasted. We're going to fast over the situation that is afflicting us. We need to be in good company too. We need to get people, we need to rally people who are there, who can support.
Oh, Roquita, that story of Esther is just so powerful because, again, her background, she just a regular girl, but she became a queen. She still helped her cousin Mordecai. She still was there. And I think she exemplified truly faith over fear. Like, I could be killed, but I have to save my people. There was a plot to kill all the Jews, and she said, no, these are my people. I need to save them. And she was qualified in a moment for a time as this. She was put in a position, and she went to God. She fasted for this. So, sis, you might be put in this position right now. Go ahead and exemplify that faith over fear, because your voice counts. And Roquita, this is a good one too. You talked about Mr. Gideon. I love that name. When I think of Gideon, I always think of make you want to laugh.
Yes, I mean, Gideon was also a regular person. Gideon was from the smallest tribe of Israel is how what the scriptures tells us. So he's thinking, I'm from an insignificant tribe because I'm from the smallest one, which we know is not true, just because it's the smallest one. I mean, Israel was constantly attacked. Their enemies, it was just always something, one after the other. Gideon, he feels like, I'm the most unlikely person that God would ask to fight, like to rally the people, to get involved, being a warrior and all that. And he was also hesitant, he's not too much different from Moses and Esther in that way. Do you really want me to do this, God? He's asking God to, can you please give me a sign that you really want me to do this, which you are asking me to do? God, again, just like in Moses' case, is so gracious. Gideon didn't ask not once, but he's asking twice, like, okay, God, can you put the fleece down? Can you make just the fleece wet and everything around the fleece dry? God does that. Gideon's like, oh, okay. Okay, I got one more. I got one more request, God, just to see if you really are wanting me to do this. Can you make the fleece dry and the area around it wet? What does God do? He does that. He accommodates Gideon, just like he did with Moses. He's very gracious to him. I love that about our Lord. He is so gracious. Like, Gideon is fearful. He does not feel like he is qualified. And God still says, no, you are the one. I want you to help fight for your people. You are to rally the troops together. You are to defeat your enemies. Gideon did not feel like he was really the one that God should call on to do to complete such a mission as this. But I know we always say, well, God qualifies the unqualified. People say that, but if you read the Bible, that really is true. Yes. Like, there are stories upon stories in the Bible that really exemplify that. So I think that speaks to us today, us in these modern times here, when we really do truly feel like I'm not in a position to do what God is asking me to do. Maybe I need to study more. Maybe I need to do more research. I need to change who I am. They're not going to receive it. No. God asked you for a reason. Pray on it. Ask God. Ask for signs. He was like, Lord, and God was just, I'm just going to repeat this. God was so gracious to him. It wasn't like he said, no, I'm not going to give you a sign. I'm, do this or not. God really walked with him. He walked with him through that fear and let him know, no, you are the one I'm asking you to do this. I'm going to complete these signs that you've asked for. You are the one I'm asking you to do this.
Roquita, I think it's so pivotal too, because in Gideon's case, it is okay to ask God questions because he will answer them. And just like Gideon, he will give you signs and he will accommodate you in the process. Do you think you're going to do it alone? No, God is going to be there with you. And though you might not see him like a physical person. He is there with you spiritually. And that's why Gideon again was able to bless. And Gideon was like, let me ask again. So it's okay to ask questions. But like Roquita said, when he's calling you, not only that, he's going to accommodate you. And she said it so clearly, he's going to be gracious enough for you. And he's going to open those doors so that way you can use your voice to bless whatever mission that he has for you. Oh, I like that story. I like that name. I gotta go back and read that scripture.
Yes. It's a great story.
Oh, I know. I gotta go back and read it all. And Ro, the last Bible character that you mentioned specifically in this awesome instrumental video that you put together to give people hope of having their voice, because sis, your voice counts, is Mr. Paul. Take us down that journey of Mr. Paul in the Bible.
Paul. We know Paul is such an important figure from the Bible and such an important figure in the Christian faith. I mean, this man wrote the majority of the New Testament. If we talk about someone who really wasn't qualified or appeared not to be qualified, Paul would fit that bill if you're just looking at his past. So with Paul, how I describe him in the video is his issue would be, God, who is going to look at me judging from my past? Who is even going to believe anything I say if they looked at my past? Paul was a persecutor of Christians. He killed believers. I mean, this man was he went from one polar opposite to the other, literally, having how we call it a come to Jesus moment. He literally did on the road to Damascus. This man who was a hater of Christians and then had this complete overhaul, this complete transformation, becomes a believer in Christ, who becomes a defender of the faith. He's encouraging other people in the faith. He is spreading the good news across so many different countries. Paul is planting churches. I mean, his story, if nothing else, that should tell us that whatever our past is, we should not let that be a barrier to speaking the message that God has told us to speak. We should not count ourselves out and think that, oh, no one is going to listen to me. They're going to think I'm a hypocrite. Yeah, you are going to have some people who might think that. But guess what? If God is asking you to do this, that means that there is an audience there that is going to listen, an audience that only you could affect. Your past, if anything, is probably going to be instrumental in them believing in you even more and really having your message resonate with them, because you were there. You were in such the opposite place than where you are now, that message is going to stick with them even more. You know, there will always be people who might not be feeling our message, but then there are people that God has called to listen to us. I do believe God has an audience assigned to speakers. There are people that we're going to resonate with. Like I said before, there are people who speak on the same topics. There are a lot of people who speak on money. There are a lot of people who speak on relationships. There are a lot of people who will speak on, they're empowerment speakers, like women empowerment. But they all have their own style. They all have their own flavor. They all have their own experiences. So that is going to distinguish one from the other. So just because you speak on the same things, the fact that you had this kind of past, these experiences, that's going to stick with the audience that God has assigned to you. They're going to want to listen to you than, say, the other speaker who also speaks about the same subject. That speaker has their own audience that they resonate with, and you have yours that is they're hanging on to your every word. like every event you're speaking at, they're following, keeping up with you. They're keeping up with you on social media. Every time you have some type of online, some type of webinar, workshop, they're there. So you have your people. Some people call it a tribe, your tribe that likes to follow you. Whoever those people are that God has assigned to you, don't think that just because you had this past, no matter how horrible it was, like God is so merciful to a lot of us. He's so merciful. Whatever we did in our past that we thought was just, it just cannot, it cannot be redeemed. Nothing good can come out of it. You will be surprised. Like we say, God can really take what you've been through. He can take the worst and make good out of it. It really is true. Paul is an example of this. Like who would believe him? I mean, even in, I don't want to get this wrong. I believe it's the book of Acts where Amber, I'm forgetting who it was. I don't think it was Cornelius, but he was basically going hard for Paul. He was the one who was like, no, like, I'm bringing Paul in. He was bringing Paul in to the people, but the people were like, well, like they knew Paul used to kill Christians. They were very apprehensive about letting him in their circles, and rightly so. Paul had a pass, but he had someone who was going to bat for him, someone who knew that he was in a very different place. He was here on a mission. God has him here to speak this message. Like, this man is here on Christ's behalf. This man is like all of you. He's here because we need to get out the gospel. Like, we need to spread God's message. We need to be on the Great Commission. He's a part of us. But he really had to go to bat for Paul. He had to go to bat for him. Sometimes we do need people to go to bat for us who can speak on our behalf. No. This person, no, you want them to come speak. This person is going to deliver this message. They're going to do a bang up job. We need those people. But, Paul's past, that really could have been a barrier for him. And he still went forth. And look what we have today. Most of the New Testament due to him.
Ladies, Ro, thank you so much. Ladies, your past can progress you. God can take one area of life and move it forward. Paul was Saul at one time. Saul persecuted Christians. He became Paul, who actually led people to Jesus Christ and spread the good news. So he can transform your past, wrap it up, and use you in any situation. Sis, your voice counts. And Roquita, you are just a phenomenal certified world-class public speaking coach. And we talked about this earlier and being on this craft. And I love what you said about going back to the basis. Tell us your most up-to-date vision on public speaking in this moment.
Thank you for this question. So as you mentioned, Amber and I were talking, and Amber had asked me, what's new? What's new on public speaking? Like, what's the newest tea? What new skills, new techniques? I did the opposite. What I told Amber was that I feel like a lot of people actually need to go back and get a good solid handle on the foundations of public speaking. So many people, especially when they're starting out, and even some people who've been speaking for a while, it's like, what's next? Well, what's next? What's the next biggest thing in public speaking? Or how can I do this better? How can I do that differently? Well, did you master the fundamentals? Did you master the pillars of public speaking? Content, structure, delivery. Are you solid in those areas? Are you solid with engaging your audience? If you are fearful, do you know how to handle or manage that fear? I'm talking about we need to think about the basics of the craft. Do you have those down? Because a lot of people, even those who've been speaking for years, they got into public speaking and they do have a great message, but they're not always maybe where they could be at because they really didn't take the time to master the fundamentals. Some people are they're just cruising. They're cruising. We don't ever want to be in that place where we feel like, oh, well, I learned that, so I don't need to think about those fundamentals. I need to work on my message. You know, what can I do differently? Yes, your message is important, but how you deliver it is important too. But, you know, I'm also talking about content. How are you going to structure that?
Right.
We need to be a constant student. And I was telling Amber that I'm a constant student. Yes, I have studied public speaking for years. Yes, I'm a certified public speaking coach. But guess what? I still make sure that I stay up to date and that I have a good, strong handle on the foundations. Maybe there are different ways for me to think about structure. Maybe there's a new way for me to think about delivery. There are so many different things that I can go back to when I'm looking at the fundamentals of it. There are new things or new ways of thinking about it. So I'm always going to be in school. That's how I like to put it. There are workshops, there are classes. I'm always going to stay fresh. Yes, there are things that are always to learn, but we cannot forget about the foundations. And me as a coach, I'm very big on that. Like my 9-session coaching program, I tell prospects when I have those discovery calls with them, that is something I'm very big on. I teach you the foundations of it because, like I said, I find a lot of people have been speaking, but they really don't have a good handle on the foundations of public speaking. It's just the glamour of it. But before you can even get to the glamour, you got to get through the grit of it. You got to get through the mastery of the foundations of what makes good public speaking. So I'm very big on teaching that to my clients. We are going to work on whatever your goals are, but I want to make sure that you have a solid understanding of the fundamentals of the basics of public speaking, because then we can build upon that. You know, we can't start up here and then try to work our way down.
Right.
That doesn't work. That does not work. It's easier to build upon your skills. So I think that's something that a lot of people actually need to do if they're being honest with themselves. Did you really get a good handle on the foundations of public speaking, on content? Do you know what to cut and what to keep when you are creating your speech? Because that's why you see a lot of people either go off on a tangent and the audience is completely lost because you went in a bunch of different directions. You didn't understand how to keep your message succinct, how to craft it in a way that it's clear and concise, that the audience understands. You never want to have your audience leaving confused. Someone who's leaving confused, it's because you really didn't understand what your core message was. And I work with my clients on how to get to the heart of that. There are questions that I will ask them that's going to help them get to the heart of what their message is, because that's what they need to know.
Yes.
How do you get at the heart of what your message is? Like I said, when a speaker is going all over the place, it's because they themselves do not understand what their speech was really about. You had what sounded like 3 different messages in this speech. So you went all over the place and your audience is confused. If you are not crystal clear on what your message is, your audience is that much more confused. And your audience is not going to act on your message because a confused mind says no, but a clear mind says go.
Yes.
That's how that is. So I just gave an example here with content. People need to really go back to the basics with that. Your structure, How are you crafting or organizing this content in a way that people are really going to understand the flow of it? There are so many different ways you can organize a speech. I mean, there's the chronological way, like what happened first, then we get to the present, what happens next. That's easy to follow. There's also process way to organize your speech. If you are telling people how to do something, this is what you do first, next. How are you going to organize that? So it's so many different ways that you can organize a speech. It doesn't have to be one way. And that's one thing I work with my clients on too. But getting the fundamentals down with that. Delivery. Do you know how to even engage these people? Delivery is we talking about body language, eye contact, your vocal variety. How do you use the stage?
Yes.
You got to know how to use the stage. Like, for example, I think most people know that they need to move around some on the stage. However, I think some people feel like using the stage and having good delivery means that I always have to be dynamic. I always have to be moving around on the stage. I always have to be using my voice in this way or that way, or going slower, or talking faster. I have to constantly have my eyes shifting. Guess what? Too much of anything is not good. And there's a saying, when you are always dynamic, that means you're never dynamic. If you're always dynamic, then that means you're never dynamic. Because I know a lot of us here, you got to be a dynamic speaker. You got to be a dynamic speaker. Yes, there are things you need to do that are going to add to your delivery, that are going to make what you're saying, how you deliver it, is going to stand out more. However, always doing something, always doing these different things, nothing is going to stand out. If I am always making my voice go up, down, emphasizing certain things louder, then nothing stands out. The audience is not going to be able to catch what really are the important lines that you're saying. Sometimes you got to take the spice off. That's what I'm saying. In other words, sometimes you got to take the spice off to make your words stand out. You can't be dynamic constantly, or everything sounds the same. There's going to be a sameness there. That's what I mean by being dynamic constantly. There's going to be a sameness, and you don't want sameness. So that means you can't constantly be dynamic. We want to make sure that what we need the audience to get from our speech, they're getting. They're going to know, oh, this is something important I need to take from this, or I need to write this down. That's something I want to look into. That stuck out to me, what Amber said. But if they're not catching that because I keep on changing it up, I'm not taking it down a notch sometimes, I'm not going to know what was really meant to stand out to me.
Roquita, thank you for that, because I think it's so important we go back to the basics. And during our consultation, me and Roquita was talking, I was like, I'm a life coach, and I even have a coach for different aspects of my life. And Roquita is trained on this. And I want to tell you, y'all, make sure you check out Roquita and the awesome resources that she has. Go check out her testimonial, her videos, so that way you can be truly blessed. Go ahead and let her be that Aaron for you. As you the Moses, you might be doubting yourself, but sis, your voice counts. Let Roquita shift you up in her expertise and be that Aaron for you. And Roquita, let our audience know all your social media handles so they can connect with you to get empowered and to want to be coached on public speaking.
Yeah, so you can follow me. First, I have my website, roquitajohnson.com. You can go there, check out everything that I offer. I also have a blog there as well. So a lot of public speaking articles. You can also follow me on Instagram. I am very active on Instagram. My handle is Roquita Johnson _ public speaking. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to connect. When you connect with me, just let me know that you heard Amber's interview with me and that's how you found me. I love to connect on LinkedIn. I'm very active there as well. I also have my business Facebook page, Roquita Johnson Public Speaking. Like the page. I'm always posting videos and different tips there as well. So I'm all over. I'm also on TikTok at Roquita Public Speaking. So you got a few places to keep up with me. I'm definitely on Instagram regularly.
Yes. Oh, to our voice audience, Roquita, that is Roquita Johnson. Make sure you go check her amazing blessed content out, her resources. She's an author. She has a book where she's involved and give you some tips. Roquita, I want to thank you so much for showing up on Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays podcast as the beautiful, as the blessed woman of God that you are, and for dropping those seeds of wisdom.
Thank you, Amber. And thank you so much for this beautiful, anointed podcast that you have. I know it's going to touch so many lives. I love that you are featuring so many different people of God in whatever field that they are in, but they're just out here doing the work. I mean, for God's glory, to enhance his kingdom. God told us to occupy. So I want to make sure I occupy with excellence until he comes back. I want to do the work that he has put me here to do. I want to help men and women of God to speak better, to speak with confidence, and whatever he has them doing. So maybe their message is not, you don't have to be a minister or a pastor. Wherever God has you, if you are someone, for example, if you are someone who speaks on domestic violence, that's the platform that you have. That is still good godly work. That's good soil right there. That's the mission. That's what God has you out here doing. Your message on domestic violence is going to be saving someone. The fact that you are a woman of God, that element there is going to touch a lot of the people that you are speaking to, your audience. They're going to resonate to you because of that. So whatever God has you to do, whatever that mission is, whatever he has you speaking on, just do it with excellence. Don't worry about, I gotta take the God out of this. God gave you that message.
Yes.
God gave you that message. Because I remember I had a woman, I've had a couple people ask me this before, not to get off on a tangent or anything. They are worried about speaking because, I mean, for one, they are believers. They are worried about if they mention God, are they going to turn people off? Should they even mention God in their speeches? And you know what? There are going to be some people that don't resonate with us. They are not going to want to hear about God and this, that, and the third. But I am not a proponent, as I like to say, of I'm not going to lay down my sword in a battle.
Right.
Not to call the speaking stage a battle, not anything like that. However, God gave me this platform. This is what he has called me to do. I am going to confidently go forth with my message. I understand that can take time when you're a new speaker and maybe you are nervous about having the spiritual element in there. That does go, you do want to research your audience, of course, know who you're speaking to. But no, I'm not ever just going to leave God out of fear. First of all, if you asked me to speak, you should have known who I was in the first place.
Come on.
Who you were getting, what you were getting into when you asked me to speak. So no, this is who I am in totality. I am only here by the grace of God, and God has given me this message, and I'm going to go forth with it with godly confidence.
I love it. I'm dropping the mic. Y'all heard Roquita. Go after your God-given vision and be in totality of who God has called you to be, and just show up as the beautiful person you are. I want to thank y'all to our sis, Your Voice Counts podcast with Roquita Johnson. Go check her out. Thank you so much. We are here on Red Media Radio every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you just keep it light, yeah. We just on fire, and we want to tell y'all, God bless you. And to everybody on YouTube, I always say this, Roquita. Roquita's information was linked above while she was talking, and her message and all her social media contacts are in the show notes. And we want to tell you, to the YouTube fan, we here every single Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And Roquita and I are sending an abundance, an abundance of blessings your way. Thank you so much, Ro.
Thank you for having me, Amber. I love you. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate this time.
Oh, thanks, everybody. God bless you.